نعمل ادمت also رح يفوتوا الطلاب هسه والعالم اللي برا so just
Yes.
Okay. So we're starting today the event. أول شيء, I would like to welcome you all today to this event, and a special welcome is for our speakers for today. Dr. Nasser is with us. Definitely Mrs. Sarah will take care and also welcome her in her special way. Just allow me quickly, please, to introduce myself to those who know me. This is Majid Fayyad. I am the school director, Shuf National College School Director. I graduated from Shuf National College in 2001, and I joined back as a school director in July 2018. As you probably all know, the culture of Shuf National College, or the spirit of Shuf National College, it has been always unique. The mission of Shuf National College stresses the total development of the learner. We teach, we guide, we inspire, and that's why we are here today hosting this special event under the umbrella of the Leah program at Shuf National College. And I will leave the floor for Mrs. Sarah Boudiab to talk more about the event of today, which is the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. Sarah Boudiab, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So welcome, everybody. So today's occasion is the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. And this day was adopted by the United Nations under Declaration number 7212. The importance of this event and why we are holding it is that it brings into light the issues of women and girls, the issues of full and equal access to science, and the issue of empowering women and girls to reach their potentials. You will be surprised that the statistics show that women and girls still face major challenges. So with global challenges around added to the scenario, it is clear that an intervention is due. So today at SNC and under the leadership of an amazing administration, we join the global conversation. Hashtag Women in Science. So we at SNC are also adding another hashtag, hashtag SNC_LEA. You can do that on Twitter. So today is about women, it's about science, it's about diversity, it's about integrity, and definitely it's about SNC, and it's about transforming challenges into opportunities. And by the way, just at 4, a global event was concluded in Paris. It was held on the same occasion. So our speakers here are women and girls we are proud of. I will not talk much. I will leave the floor for them. I will just start by introducing our speakers. So Dr. Rihab Nasr. Dr. Nasr, it is definitely a great pleasure and a great honor that you are here with us today. Thank you for being here.
Dr. Nasr, are you with us?
Yes, Alila, oui, here.
So if I just want to read and mention all that Dr. Nasr has achieved, it will be definitely a hard task. Literally, it would take more than 15 minutes. No words will give her a due introduction. So I will just summarize. I will just say, Dr. Nasr, you are a true inspiration. We, as women and girls, we look up to you, not only to your achievements, but also to your character and to your role as a mother of a beautiful family. You are an associate professor in the Department of Anatomy, Cell Biology, and Physiology. You are a director of the Basic Research Core Facilities, the director of Cancer Prevention and Cancer Program and the Control Program at the Faculty of Medicine at the American University of Beirut. Dr. Nasr's major research activities focus on cancer biology. Overall, her work had led to 2 patents and the publication of 75 peer-reviewed articles in leading scientific journals. She received a very long list of recognitions and awards. I will only name a few. So here are some. The Best Biomedical Research Award from Qatar Foundation, one of the 7 top Arab women by Sayyidati magazine, UNESCO's L'Oréal for Women in Science Fellowship, the Franco-Lebanese Scientific Excellence Award, the Arab American Frontiers Fellowship, which is part of the US National Academy of Sciences. Dr. Nasr is also an activist. She is the founding director of alumna, an organization whose mission is to fight cancer through education, research, and prevention. I know some of her students, and I'm not surprised, but I am thrilled with all that they say about her. Thank you for being with us. We are looking forward to hear the stories that you have to share with us. The floor is yours.
Mike. That unmute.
Okay, can you
It's
see
fine. We
my
can reach
slide?
her
Can you hear
through-
my voice?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yes, you are with us. We can see your slides and hear your voice.
Thank you, Sarah, for the nice introduction. And good afternoon, everyone, students, parents, teachers, administrators, and the whole audience. Thank you, Sarah, Mr. Majid, and the Shuf National College for this great opportunity to share my personal life and experience in science with all of you. It's always an honor to collaborate with Shuf National College. Now, I'll take you back. I'm trying to move my slides. I'm not able to move my slides. Well, I think I have a technical issue. I'm not being able to move my slides. Okay. I'll try one more time. Okay, probably I won't do. I'm unable to move my slides when I share.
Il faut cliquer, je pense, plusieurs fois sur le...
IT, can you
okay,
help
it's
her?
working.
It is okay.
It's
C'est bon, il faut cliquer plusieurs fois, c'est ça.
D'accord. Wait.
It's working. Perfect. Yeah.
Okay, so now I'll take you back 30 years ago to share my story that I started in a small village in the Shuf. I come from Farnabrach, which is a small village which is 15 minutes far from your school. And 30 years ago, it was the time when I finished my bac at Ain Halta Secondary School. And I was faced with the biggest question in every person's life. What should I do with my life? I can tell you that I'm really very fortunate to be raised in a family of 4 children who have always praised the education of girls. My parents, who themselves could not finish their school studies, had only one goal in their life, and that is to provide their children, especially their daughters, with an education, and not only education, the best education. And having grown up in a rural area, it was never a question for my father of whether either of us, the 3 girls, would go to a college. It was just a question of where to go. And at that time, we were in the middle of war, and there was no many universities in the region. So it was not an easy decision for my parents to let me go down to Beirut to start my university studies. And believe it or not, my first trip to Beirut was when I went with my father and a cousin of mine who was studying at the Lebanese University to visit the Faculty of Science at the Lebanese University and register for the entrance exam. And it was the biology department. Now, why biology? Honestly, I'm not sure. I didn't have too many options at that time. You know, we were not that lucky as you are now. You are in a wonderful school who's working on your personality, probably more on your studies. You have advisors, you have guidance, you have orientation sessions to tell you about the university, the majors. We did not have all of this The only option that I had was Faculty of Science at Lebanese University, major biology, and that's it. So I joined the Lebanese University and I graduated with a BS in biology in 1992, then with a maîtrise in human physiology in 1993. But I never thought that my life would be limited to anything. At the Lebanese University at that time, there was no more graduate studies. So I had to move to the American University of Beirut, where I can pursue a master's degree. Now, I admit at many times it was very tough, not to mention the instability of the country. We had to face some economic problems when my father had to afford my first year AUB fees before I got granted a scholarship. You know, coming from Lebanese University, I had to prove myself at AUB before they give me a scholarship. Adding to this, I finished all my studies in French schools and universities. So I had to study English so that I can apply to AUB. I took one gap year to study English, complete the TOEFL exam, and then I finally got accepted at AUB. Now, I want to share with you here two lessons. First, language should never be a barrier to education. I still remember my first lecture at AUB. I left, I was crying. I didn't understand any word of the histology lecture in English. I went back, I want to drop everything, but the encouraging of my parents, they kept me go on. I went back to AUB, and now I teach in English at the Faculty of Medicine at AUB. So language should never be a barrier to education. Another lesson, it's okay to take a gap semester or gap year to learn new skills. Now, in my case, it was an obligatory gap year because I had to study English if I want to continue my studies at AUB. So I benefit from this gap year. I learned more about my passion. I learned the English and I managed to finish the TOEFL, join AUB, and then graduate with a master in human morphology in 1997. Now I got married and I started my own family. And therefore, due to family commitment and due to the inability of traveling abroad to complete my doctoral studies, and at that time, doctoral studies did not exist in Lebanon, I started working at the American University of Beirut as research assistant. And I remember also when I joined the lab of Dr. Bazarbashi, I told my mentor that I'm going to work for a few months and then I have to leave because I have a position at Ain Zain Hospital. And indeed, I never left the lab for 9 years. But it is in this lab where I discovered scientific research. And it is in this lab where I appreciated the positive impact that scientific research can have on patients. And in this lab where I decided that I want to continue my PhD. And with the help of my mentor, I had the opportunity to enroll at the University of Paris 7 and complete my PhD studies in between Paris and AUB. So in 2005, I defended my PhD thesis. And here's my mentor, the Lebanese mentor and the French mentor. And then Professor Ugdete offered me a postdoctoral fellowship position in his lab at Hôpital Saint-Louis in Paris. And I had 2 girls with my husband. So he took leave without leave of absence without pay from his work. And we went to Paris for 3 years where I completed my postdoctoral fellowship. In this lab, in the lab of Professor Ugdete, I've also continued my research on targeted therapy for leukemias. And in this lab, we were able to understand how a combination between retinoic acid and arsenic could manage to transform acute promyelocytic leukemia from a deadly disease to a curable one. Now then, after this journey in Paris, I wanted to give back to my community, and I accepted a position at AUB. I was appointed an assistant professor in a department where at that time, all professors were men. I was the only woman joining the department. Now I got promoted in 2014 to an associate professor, and now I continue my work in the Department of Anatomy, Cell Biology, and Physiology at AUB. I have my own lab. I also manage the basic research platform at AUB at the Faculty of Medicine. I'm also directing the Cancer Prevention and Control Program at Naif Basil Cancer Institute. And during my career, I have been continuously interested in cancer research. So in my lab, we aim to develop new therapeutic approaches to target cancer stem cells. We use mouse as a model. We use also Drosophila as a model, and we use cell lines. We also aim to study microRNA as non-invasive biomarkers for cancer. So as you know, research, it's all about creating new knowledge. And this is what makes scientific research very interesting. I managed to publish many articles. I got many funding. So, and this is very important to know that cancer research needs to be funded. I publish in 5 book chapters. Cancer research is also an interesting career because it allows you to visit many countries. So I presented in more than 25 international conferences, so more than 25 countries, more than 25 platforms where you can meet new people. I have 3 patents and I've received many awards. I know Sarah has listed them. I'll just go over them quickly. So I've received the Research Excellence Award from Qatar National Foundation. I was selected as among the 7 top Arab women in 2013. I received, this is very dear to my heart, this is for women in science. So I received the UNESCO L'Oréal Fellowship for Women in Science in 2014. And I received the Prix d'Excellence Scientifique Franco-Libanais in 2015 from Légion d'honneur au Institut Français. The life of scientists is difficult, but as you saw, it is very exciting and rewarding. I'm so proud to have been successful in my career, but also more proud to have a family and to be the mother of 3 beautiful daughters. So my daughters, as you can see, they are scattered throughout the stages of my journey. I have a research assistant daughter. This is Yasmina. I have a PhD daughter. This is Yara. And I have an assistant professor daughter. This is Samah. And I've asked Yasmina yesterday, please send me a picture of you at your old school. And Yasmina was a student of Chouf National College before we leave to France. So Yasmina, this is Yasmina performing in a theater at Chouf National College in 2005. And now Yasmina is in her last semester, will be graduating from University of Pennsylvania in US with the 2 majors in bioengineering and psychology. So I wish all the students who are listening to us now and who are students of Chouf National College, that they will get the education that Yasmina was able to get, whether at Chouf National College or in other prestigious schools and universities. So this is also the proud father of her daughter at Penn Engineering. So a third lesson, especially now for girls, having a family and children while building your own career is possible. It's not easy, but it's possible. What we need to do is not only encouraging girls to pursue career in science, but for this to be feasible, We want to encourage boys to become more involved in their family life. Now, cancer research, when I think about it, I see that cancer research is a career that chose me. You know, I joined university, well, I can say by chance. I did not have any other option. And for me now, it's time to choose my career. And I've been very interested in prevention, especially in cancer prevention. We don't want the disease to arrive. We want to prevent it. And that's why I came back to school. So I joined the Cancer Prevention Summer School at National Cancer Institute at NIH and finished the summer school in 2015. Then I finished 1 year at Harvard Medical School to finish cancer biology and therapeutics. After which I came back and founded Amaluna. So Amaluna, as Sarah mentioned, this is AUB affiliated educational organization whose aim mainly to fight cancer. I have also part of the initiation of a cancer prevention and control program at the Naif Basil Cancer Institute at the American University Beirut Medical Center. And now, in collaboration with this cancer prevention and control program, Amaluna fight cancer by focusing on 3 pillars. Education, so we do so many outreach programs. We want to raise awareness about cancer and the way to prevent it. We also want to introduce the research culture to our community. So we initiated a program which is called Student as Researchers Initiative. And we do many prevention activities. So I'll show you some photos just of our activities. So you can see here, for example, in schools, where we go and we deliver awareness lectures about cancer, but also about scientific research, because we don't really know what is scientific research and what is researcher as a career. And I always encourage students, you shouldn't go only to biology to become a researcher. You can do math, physics, chemistry, engineering, even you can study law, art, whatever major you do, you will be able to be part of the cancer research community. We've been doing so many health days where, again, the aim is to raise awareness about cancer and about the importance of early detection. We participate in a Beirut Marathon because it's a large platform where we can approach thousands of people and share with them our logos, our slogans about cancer research. And you can see here the logo of Shuf National College, who have been very supportive also to Amaluna. We organize hike to fight cancer. So cancer prevention, one of the risk factors is physical inactivity. So we encourage physical activity. And during the year, we participate, depending on the months, in cancer awareness to specific types of cancer. For example, you can see in October, we raise awareness about breast cancer, the importance of mammography as screening for breast cancer. In March, it's International Awareness Month for colorectal cancer. So we have this inflatable colon where we tour with this colon to villages, to schools, and raise awareness about the importance of colorectal cancer prevention and early detection. We've been also very active in raising awareness about smoking as a risk factor for cancer. And unfortunately, I can say it, in our region, probably cigarette smoking is not very acceptable, but argili smoking is becoming very acceptable, and this is bad. This is a sign of ignorance. Both smoking, argili, and cigarettes, they are risk factors for cancer. So we need to raise awareness about this. And we've initiated a program which is in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and Higher Education, with the Health and Wellness Center at AUB, as well as the CNRS, which is the National Council for Scientific Research. And the campaign was Tobacco for Youth, and we invited high school students to participate first in a face-to-face competition, but then later with the COVID-19 crisis, we switched to a virtual competition to raise awareness about smoking as a risk factor for cancer. And here you can see some of the artworks that were done by students. So we started this program first with public schools, but during the last year, we opened it also as well to private schools. This is the Students as Researchers initiative. This is a program that was first started by alumna. It's a program where we invite high school students to our lab. We assign them to mentor, to lab, and to research projects, and they spend like 2 to 3 months in our lab working on their research project so that they can understand the research, the scientific research, and then at the end they present their data in a conference that we organize at AUB. So this is the first SRI. We had 6 students. Last year we had more than 22 students. And I added this because I want really to thank Shuf National College for their continuous support to our activity. So we've participated with them and they participated with us with health days, with awareness lectures, with even colorectal cancer month, with a marathon, Beirut Marathon. They even organized a marathon for us. So I continue and I keep congratulating Shuf National College and the administration for their commitment to these extracurricular activities. Now, in addition to science and research, it's good to challenge ourselves. And I've challenged myself in many opportunities. They were part of my activities to raise awareness. And I've challenged myself to complete Beirut Marathon, which I did it for Amaluna with a slogan, Run for Health, Run Against Cancer. And I was also lucky to participate in a fundraising event. This is an international fundraising event. We were around 40 participants, most from US, Europe, Australia. I was the only female from Middle East, where we had a challenge to climb Kilimanjaro. And the Kilimanjaro is the highest peak in Africa. And all the fundraising was towards supporting research for chronic myeloid leukemia. So this is just to tell you, you can always, okay, I forget to tell you that I was so lucky that the day when we reached the top, it was my birthday. And you know, who would celebrate his birthday on the top of Kilimanjaro? I had this opportunity. I had this opportunity to celebrate my birthday on the top of Kilimanjaro, being surrounded with wonderful friends from all the world. So my next lesson, follow your passion, find what drives you in helping others, and it's never too late to fulfill your dreams. So I was 49 when I climbed Kilimanjaro. My daughter wanted this to be my 50th challenge. And I forgot to mention something about age. It's never also too late to fulfill your dream. I started my PhD at the age of 30. So we shouldn't have to go the regular track. We should have the passions and then the persistence to follow our passion. Now, I would like to share with you some powerful messages. You know, my family and I, we had to cross some challenges and struggles to get where we are now, family-wise, work-wise, but also culturally. You know, I found sometimes myself wishing to be in 2 places at the same time. I wanted to attend this international conference, but I want to be with my daughters. But at the end, I can tell you that having a fulfilling career in science while raising a family isn't really difficult, but it is, yeah, it is difficult. It is, but it's not impossible, especially when you have the support. So if I ask you now, what were the keys to achieve my goal? I would share with you few keys. First, mentorship. Mentorship, now your teachers are your mentors. So make sure you listen to your teachers. My mentors, they believe me as a scientist and as a person. They helped me finding my own research niche, and they opened doors for me, but they also helped me open doors for myself. And this is what your teachers will be doing. In addition to mentors, you know, research is a team effort. And I cannot, you know, nothing would have been possible without the effort of my team. So I'm very lucky to have a research team who is a big part of my achievement. But of course, family support is the most important key.
Mrs. Rihab, you muted your mic.
So my husband has carried at least half the load. I have a very supportive husband who respects me and respects my career.
Sorry,
and finally,
Dr. Rihab, sorry, continue. Yes, we're sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to move to the second slide. Yeah.
Okay.
شلت انا ما خليتني اعمل
انت سكر صوتك.
So it seems. Sorry, Majid, but I have to.
Okay, take your time.
Yeah. It seems when I have so many pictures, it's hard to. Okay. So the last key is you. You know, if you believe in yourself and in your capability, if you work hard, if you focus, don't forget determination, motivation, and persistence, and the will to win. So you can achieve whatever you want. Your life is a journey, and every step is an opportunity to learn and grow. So stay informed, stay educated. I know we're not living in wonderful times. We have been living in difficult times with the COVID-19, but still stay informed and stay educated. So I want to conclude that through persistence, but of course with all the support, I was able to have what I consider the most valuable things in life: an education, a successful career, and a beautiful family. And I hope I really set a good example for all of you. World needs science, and science needs women. So thank you, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Sarah?
Thank you so much, Dr. Nasser. As expected, such a great story and such a great message, or more than one message also. So we would like to remind all our viewers on YouTube and on Facebook, you can always send your questions through the comments, and we will hopefully be able to take these questions and ask them to our speakers. Our participants here in the Zoom meeting, you can as well send messages in the Zoom chat. And if you would like to ask your questions directly, you are also welcome. So you can we can coordinate this with the other hosts. Thank you so much, Dr. Nasser. All these achievements and yet a successful mom, this is something also very great, something that is really inspiring for women and girls, I believe. I have a quick question. So you talked about raising awareness, and you mentioned too many very important things. Do you really think that we have this challenge as women and girls, in the sense of, do we really need to raise awareness, or is it an urgent issue? Are women and girls facing a lot when it comes to science and all the scientific community?
Thank you, Sarah, for the question. Well, you know, the numbers will talk. Yes, sure, we are having some problems. You know, if I talk, for example, from being an associate professor at AUB, I can see the number of medical students. I teach at the medical school, so I can see the number of medical students, the female students, is increasing with time. But when I look at leadership positions at all institutions, I don't see this is reflective of the number that of the female versus male students started their university studies. Yes, we do have a problem, and I think events like Leah is doing, this is one of the way where we can raise awareness about this, let's say, gender imbalance in science. But being honest, this is not only to our regions or to our country, this is worldwide.
Yeah.
So no doubt that we need to keep our efforts to reduce this imbalance and to give the girls and the women in science what they deserve.
Yeah, hopefully. We all hope so, hopefully. I was also, you drew my attention to one of your initiatives. There are many initiatives, but one of them in particular, which is the students as researchers. Yeah, this is something very nice for us as a school as well, because this is a link. So, so can we say that you are ready to take some of our students into your lab?
You know, of course, I've discussed this with Shuf National College. The only limitation for students as researchers initiative is the location of the school, because the students, they have to come to the lab on a daily basis during the SRI program. So the first year when we started this initiative, I introduced it to many schools, but mainly schools that are around AUB. But to tell you the truth, the last 2 years, we had schools joining from SIDA. So if Shuf National College are committed to participate, we will always welcome their participation. So it's only logistic, if the students can come or not. So, but we'll be happy, of course, to work with Shuf National College.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So are there questions? Anybody would like to? Yes, so Ms. Leah Al-Ashqar has raised her hand. Maybe we can give her the chance.
Yeah, I have a small question. As you all noticed that your journey was such an inspiring and motivating journey. But back then, there wasn't what is now called the support teams. So I would like to know throughout the, yes?
There wasn't what was called what?
There wasn't what is called now like support teams.
Support team,
Or,
yes.
Yeah. So I would like to know throughout this long and it's not an easy journey, what was always motivating you and letting you stay motivated and inspired to continue and to always like be active in this throughout this journey?
Yes, thank you. Excellent question, Leah. You know, in my last slides, I've told you the most important key is you. It was a drive inside me. I cannot explain it, but even now, I'm, you know, I describe myself as a lifelong learner. I want to keep learning. So education is not limited by age. So since I first started school, finished school, started university, finished, and then I continue to learn. Every day we learn. So it is really this drive inside me.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can see it.
Did I answer my question, Leah?
Yeah.
Your question? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay, great. So our support team, do we have questions from outside the Zoom meeting?
Okay, I just want to thank Dr. Nasr again. And as you just mentioned, we always collaborate together in many things, and we're more than ready anytime you want. Those 2 years, للأسف, الظروف, constraints all around, but still we are always ready to contribute and share with you all your stories. So please, as you just mentioned, I was muted about the laboratories, and you said that there are schools from SIDA joining. Whenever there is a possibility, definitely we will have a full bus بس خليها تروق الأوضاع شوي, and we'll definitely go and take students now there أكيد.
Of course, inshallah.
Okay. I also have another question. Okay, maybe Rayyan. Let me give the chance to Rayyan.
Yes, hello, Dr. Nasr. Yes, you've mentioned that students must follow their passion. هلا على طول بنشوف بالeducational systems احيانا بتكون الكومبيتيشن هي قويه لدرجه to kill the passion, خصوصا when it comes to the medical field. يعني كثير نسمع خصوصا بالايوبي قديش الكومبيتيشن بالميديكال فيلد savage يعني. فهاو did you يعني how did you manage to follow your passion بهاي الانفايرمنت يلي هي الكومبيتيشن فيها يعني شوي زياده عن الحدود؟
Thank you, Rayyan. So first, just let me comment on AUB, and in fact, to reduce the passion. The competition is about grades mainly when it comes to universities. So at AUB, to reduce the competition between students, we opted to a fail-pass system, and an aim to reduce competition and let them enjoy the medical school. Now, the case for me, probably I was more mature than other students. So because I had the opportunity to pursue my PhD at the age of 30. And following the French system, so I finished my PhD in Paris. It's different from the American system. There was no courses, there was no grades. It was mainly competition to fulfill your research projects. And this competition as a researcher, you will always have it. Because whatever project you want to continue, you know that many other persons probably they are working on this project. So let's say it's a healthy competition.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Another question that comes to my mind is, this is something which is usually discussed from time to time. So we always ask ourselves as women and girls, is it that women support women, or is it sometimes just not the case?
Excellent. This is something that we always raise during our meeting also. So I've been working also at AUB on a mentoring committee. So a committee where we can install mentoring program for junior faculty. And this questions was among what we discussed. You know, if it's happening or not, let's start with ourselves. I think as a woman, whether me, you, Leia, whoever is here, let's try to support each other in any way, not only in science, in any way.
Yeah.
It should start somewhere.
Yeah. 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 You are right.
Question, Sarah. Yes.
Yeah. We have big hopes. Okay.
You have big hopes and you're doing a very good job. Let me just mention that all the key positions at SNC are for women, excluding me.
I'm not surprised, Majid. I'm not surprised with the attitude of
all our head of schools, I think 2 or 3 of them are attending. Also, they are women. Coordinators also are a big group are also women. So we're supporting you, ladies.
So Shuf National College is a role model for other institutions.
Thank you. Sarah, please, according to the program, can we proceed? What do you have next?
Yes, sure. So I would also like just to thank one more time Dr. Nasr. It is always a pleasure and an honor, and hopefully we will continue to get in touch with you and benefit from all that you have to give. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next speaker, I think she is with us now, is she?
We have to check with the IT department, Mr. Munah, Mr. Jamil. Her name is Samah, no? Mrs. Samah?
Yes, so our next speaker is Miss Samah Shazbeck.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Welcome, Samah.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you so much. And we are so happy that you are with us as well. So I will go on and introduce Ms. Samah Shazbeck. She is an aerospace and defense engineer at NI, National Instruments. NI is a leading international company in the field of test and measurement. NI equips engineers and enterprises with systems that accelerate productivity, innovation, and discovery. She took various roles within the company in technical consultancy, in sales, where she closely supported researchers, engineers, and industries in developing their projects and engineering new ideas. She worked in different branches of NI, starting from Beirut, moving to South Africa, and now she resides in France. So it's a long way, but you are close to our hearts. She also traveled to several countries in Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and other parts of Asia to train engineers and academics on using various cutting-edge technologies. She has led an internship for an entrepreneurship program for undergraduate students, and she also has her own entrepreneurship plans, which we are looking forward to. Ms. Shazbeck earned her engineering diploma from the Lebanese University and was the first LabVIEW student ambassador in Lebanon. Her final year project won the first prize in the IEEE Communication Society. And besides her academic excellence, she has a unique personality that combines theoretical and practical aspects. Take my word, it's not so often that you meet someone like her. She is an adventurer and a seeker of knowledge. The breadth and the depth of her skills and interests are a source of richness for any context. I am so happy to have you with us today, Samah. Welcome, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate the personalized introduction. It's a great pleasure, as I mentioned, to be with you here today. So I was given, let's say, 20 minutes to talk to you a little bit about my field, what I do. And I've chosen this time to introduce you to what is actually an aerospace and defense engineer, and to walk you to the path that I went through. So basically, what or how I became basically an aerospace and defense engineer. And I also I'm planning to share with you some personal stories throughout my experiences that basically left an impact on me. So without further ado, first, can you confirm that you're seeing my screen?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, perfect. Right, so basically, what does an aerospace and defense engineer do? So I can tell you that we work on a very exciting and so many cool applications. So some of the applications we work on are mainly related to radar. So basically designing and testing the radar systems. So what is a radar? So a radar system, it can be, let's say, a system that can be used in different type of areas. Like for instance, at the airport. So at the airport, we deploy radars so we can basically track every airplane that is coming in and out of the airport. And this is basically used to basically monitor the air traffic to avoid any incidents or accidents between airplanes. We can also see radars on the street. So if you have ever heard of someone who had a speeding ticket, so this is because we have a radar system deployed at next to the street where we can basically track how fast is a target or a car is driving on the road. And we can basically find those who basically go outside the limits. We can also view radars in other kind of applications, like for instance, scanning the Earth topology. So by flying an airplane with a radar, we can actually track basically all the topologies, how the altitude of the mountains and how deep are the valleys. And at a certain point of time, we can also analyze what kind of rocks or soil is this Earth, does this Earth compose of. So other kind of applications as well for radar is also the weather forecast. So we can find so many radars deployed to track the changes in weather, basically if there's a storm coming, the rain, and so on and so forth. Other kind of applications I work on are mainly military purpose. So for instance, it's surveillance and electronic warfare, and we call it signal intelligence. So basically for any country, we have, like every country has the purpose of protecting its territories, which are composed of three main lands. So we have the actual soil, we have the air, and we have the sea. So for any country, it's important to understand or to track every single ship or airplane that comes into their borders. So whether it's a friendly or not, so they can basically prevent any, I don't know, maybe terrorist attack or any threat to this nation. Other kind of applications, they're related to navigation and communication. So it's mostly communicating with satellites. So the satellites, they are used for many kind of applications. They're mainly used for sending your location. So everyone is familiar with GPS. You probably have a mobile phone with maps on it, and then you can basically track where you're going to your destination. So this is due to a communication with a satellite that sends you your GPS coordinates. Other kind of satellite applications, they're mainly to basically broadcast your favorite TV channels. So you probably heard of Nilesat or Europsat or Arabsat. So So satellites can be used to also broadcast TV channels and your favorite programs. We also use satellites to also provide internet connectivity. So many of actually the internet connections comes from satellites, as well as it comes from the antennas that are deployed on Earth. So speaking of internet connection, I also work on the mobile communication. So you probably heard of 3G or 4G. So basically it's providing internet connectivity to your mobile and also for you to be able to place calls regionally and internationally. And today we are leading a lot of research in the area of a new technology, which is called 5G, which has the purpose of providing you with a higher speed, faster internet connection and more reliable connection as well. And there's also another very important topic that I work on, which is the space exploration. So this involves mainly communications with space probes, and satellites are deployed in the outer orbit that can basically track any changes in the planet's motions. It can track any asteroid that might hit the Earth, so we can take preventive actions on it. And also there will be satellite ground-based stations. So they're also used for space exploration. And I like to call them, these are the ears that listen to the universe. So basically we can receive any signal that comes from outer space, analyze it, and then understand whether it's a star that's dying or it's a birth of a star, or even it could be the sign of an extraterrestrial civilization, who knows. So I work on many exciting fields in the space of, or in the sector of aerospace and defense engineering, and I can't talk enough about it. So I have a very limited amount of time. So I've chose basically to do an experiment with you today to just give you a clear idea of what I normally can do. So for today's experiment, I will be basically using my mobile phone and the Maps app that is installed on my phone to basically trick my own GPS that it is actually residing in a different location. So I'm not sure if you're able to see it on the camera, but basically now it's pointing out that I am sitting in France, which is the reality. So next, what I will do is I will be tricking my phone to think as if it was in Lebanon today with you, in actually more specifically in SNT. So how can I do this? So as I mentioned, for you to be able to basically detect a GPS signal, you need a signal from the satellite. So what I will be doing is basically, I will be using a device, which is like this one, and it has an antenna, which will transmit or send a signal to my phone to make it think as if it was receiving it from the satellite. So I will also need a GPS antenna that will detect the signal from the satellite. I will program my device to give it the new coordinates, which are the coordinates of your school, which is the Shuf National College in here. And then once I hit on play, what will happen is I will be sending a new GPS signal to my phone with a new coordinate. So now you see that it's thinking I'm in Paris, and now it's rerouting because I'm sending a signal, and now it thinks it's actually in Lebanon. So this is actually feasible. So if we actually zoom in on this signal, we will see that we are exactly in SNT. And now after we do that, so I will turn off my signal. So now it thinks it is in SNT. I turned off my program. And now, give it a few seconds, it will reroute back to Paris. So now it's getting the signal back from the actual satellite. This is a very cool demonstration on what we can actually do by programming a device and creating a communication link. It can be anything. It can be GPS, it can be satellite, it can be 3G, 4G, just you name it. So I hope you got a clear idea of what kind of applications I work on. So first, let me tell you exactly how it all started. So how did I become aerospace and defense engineer? So I was always, let's say, passionate about understanding how can two different devices not connected together, how they can communicate. So back when I was in school, I decided to pursue an engineering degree in communication. So I joined the Lebanese university right after school, and I joined the faculty of engineering in Hadad. So basically, I started learning more about engineering in general. And by the third year, I started specializing in the electronics and communication engineering field. So during that time, I was learning more about this area, and I was also part of the University Science Club. So one day we had this meeting about the science club, and we've got a guest speaker who was basically a representative of the company with whom I work with today. So this representative, let's say, said or told us about a programming language, which is called LabVIEW, and then it's a product of the company, and that the company is launching a new program called LabVIEW Student Ambassador. So the idea is for them to select one student in the faculty who will be responsible of teaching this program to the other students in the university. And he asked for volunteers. So at that point of time, I was thinking to myself, this is a great opportunity for me to learn a new skill. It's a great opportunity to make a new connection. And most of all, it's the greatest opportunity for me to overcome my own fears of public speaking. So back at the time, I was a very shy person, and I can't tell you how much I was terrified to go up in public and speak about any topic. So I said to myself, it's now or never. So this kind of opportunity will never come twice. And then I jumped up and then I said, I'm volunteering and I want to be part of this program. So obviously it wasn't very, let's say, straightforward. There will be a certification that needs to be passed, and there will be some interviews that needs to take place. So for the next 6 months after that, I spent my time learning about this new tool. I downloaded every single reference I could find because I did not have external instructor or a tutor who would help me to learn about this program. So I had to do it all by myself. I learned everything I could learn about this program with the available resources I had. And then when I felt ready, I contacted the company, and then I basically sat down for the test, and I passed the certification. After that, I went through the interviews, and they accepted me to become their ambassador in the Lebanese university, and I was the first Lebanese student ambassador for LabVIEW. So for the next 3 years, I taught the software for so many students from second year until the 5th year in engineering. And I've done a lot of events and workshops, basically, which also helped me identify what kind of sections or sectors I'm passionate about. So I learned about new tools from the company, about new technologies, and I found out that I love radio frequency domain. So I always wanted to work in that area. And by the 4th year, I was able to secure an internship with the same company due to the connections I have built along the way. So also during my internship, I was able to learn more about this topic, and I was able to, let's say, identify my passion. And most of all, I was able to prove myself to the company that I am a person who is reliable, and I will be able to deliver, and I am a good candidate for you to basically consider me once I graduate. And by the 5th year, so by my graduation, I did a final year project, which was, by the way, in collaboration with the American University of Beirut. And that project was related to my field, and it won the first prize for the IEEE Communication Society. So back at the time, I had the opportunity to basically make this project or take this project and make it into a commercialized product. So basically, we can sell it to the market. So that means starting my own company. And that means letting go the idea of joining an eye and becoming an aerospace and defense engineer. So although it was very tempting back at the time, but I felt I wasn't ready to endeavor in the entrepreneurship field. And I have decided to let go of this idea at that point and then start my career as a technical support engineer. And it happened. So right after my graduation, I joined the company and I started learning more about the tools and the technologies in the field. I also started teaching other fellow engineers and researchers about how they can leverage these tools for them to be able to accelerate the productivity and innovate in new ideas. So I traveled a lot in the world, and I met a lot of basically people who are leaders in their field, and I could learn as much from them as I could teach them about the technology. So a few years later, I've got the opportunity to move to South Africa to work in sales. So also at the time, I said to myself, I have no background in sales. I know nothing about it. And I always felt myself as a technical person. I like to work in engineering. So I like kind of feared that I will be failing in this new opportunity. So I was hesitating. But then I said to myself, this is also an opportunity that will never come again. It is my time now, so I can overcome this fear. I can explore this field, because there will be no way I will know if this is something that I want to do or not if I don't try it. So I accepted the job and I moved to South Africa. I worked in sales, and I can tell you it was very rewarding, because I learned a lot about the field itself, about aerospace and defense. I learned about the market, and mostly I learned about myself. I learned that I can overcome the challenges. And it's not about the skills, it's about the attitude. If you have the right attitude, you can actually learn the skill. You can put the time to practice and prepare yourself. But as long as you have the attitude that you want to succeed. So this was basically it for South Africa. After which I had the opportunity to go back to Beirut for a different position, which is basically team leadership. So I went back to Beirut and I managed a team of engineers who are regional. So they are distributed in Middle East and Africa. And I also worked with undergraduate students by leading an internship for entrepreneurship program. So I worked with them to enable them to also take their project and make it as a startup or a commercial idea, to offer them the opportunity that I got when I graduated. After that, I had the opportunity to move here to France to be more specialized, on aerospace and defense engineering, which is mainly my field. So it's my passion, it's my area of interest. So without any doubt, I took on the opportunity, and today I'm sitting here in France working with the most, let's say, important industries in the area of aerospace and defense in Europe, and working with so many great people on very exciting projects, and who knows what will the future hold. So currently working with people like Intellis or the European Space Agency, who are currently collaborating with NASA on basically building a base on the moon. So everything that's related to satellite communication and those orbits, or basically the rockets that could take basically or help build the base on the moon, we can be part of this basically integration and help them to be successful. So as I mentioned, I've been into so many places, and this is, let's say, a list of every single place I've been into around the globe, either as part of my professional career, but also as part of my personal interest. So not only I'm passionate about aerospace and defense, but I'm also very passionate about traveling, about unraveling the mysteries of the universe, discovering the world around me, and my most inspiration, I take it from nature. So I spent a good deal of time traveling around, understanding new cultures and discovering new landscapes. And I have selected some of the pictures that I've taken that had basically a very important impact on me, and I would like to share it with you. So I'm very curious about space, about astronomy in general. So I have my own telescope. You probably can see it in the background. So I take my telescope very often on, let's say, stargazing trips, and I spend my time on a clear sky, gazing to the stars and to the planets. And this one was taken in Fallujah in Lebanon. Another picture, this is taken for the Sutherland Observatory in South Africa. So the Sutherland Observatory is the biggest telescope in the southern hemisphere, so of the southern part of the Earth. And it is basically used to capture images from the space and then obviously analyze them for data. And I also worked with the engineers in that telescope to help them build a system to control the inside mirrors of the telescope so we can reposition it properly to capture images that are coming from space. I've also visited the observatory in Mauna Rea in Hawaii, and this is one of the most important observatories on Earth because it has a lot of discoveries, and it actually discovered that most of the galaxies are mainly built or made of dark matter. And I spent my time in this observatory talking to astronomers and then also contemplating the planet, and I was also able to capture this picture of the moon with my own camera. Also, while I was in Hawaii, so there was at the time an active volcano. So there was the volcano was active and it was erupting lava everywhere, and it has burnt a big deal of the landscape. So I took a helicopter and flew over the volcano, and I was able to see the lava actually like coming up of the volcano and flowing down. It was a very marvelous scene to see, but also very scary, to be honest. So this is a reminder for us that nature can be very powerful, and us humans, we can be very powerless. But with science and technology, we are able to do something about it. We may not be able to stop it, but we are able to save lives. We are able to predict this, to prevent this, and basically help people get out of the way. Another picture, this is basically a lion that was just relaxing under the sun. So this was a trip I've done in South Africa. I would normally go on a lot of road trips. I just take the car and then drive around. So I've done a lot of road trips in the natural reserve. And then I would sit and wait for the wild animals just to pop up. And so I can take their pictures and, just contemplate them. I also managed to take on the same day this image of 3 cheetahs trying to devour a prey, and a giraffe that was just roaming around and eating from the trees. So as you probably noticed, I like nature. So I like to do a lot of trips, like camping and trekking and so on. So this is a picture I've taken on a camping trip on Norway. I normally use these trips to get away from life, from even my job, and just sit, relax, and then think about myself, about my experiences, and about my next aspirations. And this is one of the favorite, let's say, camping spots that I discovered in South Africa, in Cape Town. So you've probably seen that I liked photography. So basically, I'd like to take pictures of landscapes. And this is a picture I've taken in Norway. And one of the most important hobbies for me is basically biking. So I do a lot of biking trips, and I like to discover, let's say, the nearby cities and villages on bike. And this is a picture I've taken very recently this year on a bike packing trip, where I actually took my bike and then roamed around for 7 continuous days. It was in Denmark, and I basically did the island tour in Bornholm all on bike. So I have a lot of interest, and throughout my, let's say, experience, both professional and personal, I've learned a good deal of things. And those things, they became my internal compass, and they helped me to drive my day-to-day decisions. And today, I wanted to share with you some of the highlights that I learned throughout my journey. So first, follow your aspirations and dreams, and work hard for it. Because the only limitation we have is the limitations of our own fears. And once we start to believe in ourselves, we believe that we can make it happen, we can achieve our goals, and we can definitely reach for the stars. Yeah. And the second thing is, never stop being curious about the world about you. So take interest in anything, like how things work, how the universe works. Because curiosity is the fuel, and it's the mother of all sciences that we see today. And the most important part, which also Dr. Nasser has mentioned, never stop learning new skills. I never stopped. I kept learning from day one, while I was in the university, even at school, and even in my day-to-day job, I have to learn new things because I have to stay up to date with the technology and the world, because it's rapidly evolving. And if you want to stay ahead, you have to be ahead, and you have to ride the wave of change. And also, most importantly, do not be afraid to take a step out of your comfort zone, because we have a lot of fears, and these are actually the things that limit us to take a step forward. So learn how to adapt to the environment, learn how to accept uncertainties and how to adapt to the unknown, because only when you do so, the journey to you will become very appealing. And also, opportunities, they need preparation. So no matter how many opportunities they will knock on your door, you will not get it unless you are ready for it. So this happened to me actually when I turned down the startup idea right after graduation. And this will happen to many of you. So the point here is if you want to do something, prepare for it. So when the time comes, you are ready. And then balance is key. So it's as important for you to basically take care of yourself, to maintain a good body, a good health, a good spirit, and a good health of mind, because you need to stay relaxed, you need to stay focused, you need to stay creative, and only by maintaining a good balance that you can achieve so. And finally, time is your most valuable asset. So time is the only thing that basically it goes and never comes back. Every second counts. Every second you make a decision. You decide how do you want to spend it. Do you want to do something? You want to learn something, or do you want to do nothing? It's all up to you. So please spend it wisely. So finally, I have a question for you. I know that we are on a journey. You are on a journey. So the question to you is, what will you do next? So that's it for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, as always, many different messages, and we are enjoying all these things that we are listening to today. Unraveling the mysteries of the universe, unraveling the intricacies of a successful and satisfying life for our women and girls in science. Thank you so much. We will go on to our next speaker now. We will go on to our next speaker, and if time permits, we will have a Q&A session at the end. So let me directly go on to introducing her. It is our last contribution for today, and it is from our own alumna, SNC's Maya Nasr. We were very excited that she could be with us, despite the fact that they are launching Mars 2020 very soon. So this is a project with NASA that she will tell you about. I also guess that you will agree that what she does is the dream of every stargazer. She is a PhD student in the aerospace engineering department at MIT. And frankly, when I was reviewing her involvements and her work, she told me she will talk more about them. So I had this feeling that what I see is a girl of the sky. So if science is to number our stars, you will be considered, Maya, as one of ours. We agreed that she will tell you about her work, her international affiliations, her advocacy for better inclusion, for better governance, and what it means to be a Lebanese native and an only female on a project. So welcome, Maya, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for the introduction. This is really kind of you to say. Let me share my screen. Okay. Show. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, awesome. So thank you so much again, Sarah. I'm really happy to be here, especially on this day, to talk a bit about more of my experiences about generally women in STEM, and to really talk a bit about Mars 2020, because we're landing on Mars next week and it's quite getting really exciting at the moment. So as Sarah mentioned, my name is Maya Nasr. I'm currently a PhD student in MIT. I was born in Lebanon. I went to SNC for 12 years, actually, since grade 1 till I finished my high school. And throughout my experience at SNC, I got accepted in 2011 to a program throughout Amity East called Education USA, Diana Kamal Scholarship Search Fund, also known as DKSSF, that allowed me to be part of a group called Competitive College Club, CCC. So this program really helped me a lot to apply to my colleges in the US. And throughout that, I got accepted to MIT, where I did my bachelor's and master's degrees in aerospace engineering. And now I'm finishing my PhD, hopefully in the next couple of years. So to go a bit back about my experiences in SNC, it brings me so many great memories of spending all of my basically literally every single grade of my life over there and building so many awesome friendships. It was really like a second family to me. But one of the big challenges, and to echo what was said before, is I'm really passionate about space, about discovering the universe, about all of the answering the big questions about where we come from, how did our universe get created, do we have life on different planets? And for me in Lebanon, that was a huge challenge, because it was really hard to be able to be involved in the field of anything related to space, not just aerospace engineering. And at the same time, the only option in order to do that was to go outside of Lebanon. And in my community, between all the students, the people I know in SNC, it was really hard for me to find anyone who left Lebanon or who was able to to get advice from them on how to apply outside of the US. So that for me was a big problem. But I remember one day, I think it was grade 10, that I was walking in school and I saw a poster from this Amethyst program, and I was like, whoa, that sounds interesting. And it had like names of alumni from MIT and Harvard and all that. And I was like, whoa, this is a really cool program. I should apply to that. And in the beginning, it was really like a joke, really, because I was not expecting to really do that. I talked to my parents. I was like, so yeah, I'm applying for this program. It's not really, gonna happen. But throughout this program, my family was very supportive. We did the full applications, and afterwards, I got accepted to my dream school. And this is a photo I took right away from Amidy's website. This is during my graduation in 2018 of my bachelor's degree at MIT. And it really, this program helped me to get into my dream school and really start working in the field that I love, be able to find opportunities that I really care about in terms of this field. And that was the email that really changed my life when I got my acceptance. And it was at that moment that I saw a challenge that a lot of women in Lebanon, see, especially with families, with, our opportunities, which is, so you are going to leave the country and go to a different country. You're young, you're going to be sent out alone, all of these challenges. And especially for me, coming from the Shuf area, there was a lot of, it wasn't as common to do that. And families around always have it as like, whoa, this is a big step, but my family was very supportive, and I really owe it to them for, coming here, doing anything related to my work. So it was really a great opportunity to go forward. But that being said, while I was in school and applying for MIT and all that, a huge event happened that really impacted the series of choices that I made in life, which was the Curiosity Mars rover. So I still remember in 2012, we were in Lebanon, and I was really watching the Curiosity Mars rover landing. And it was just really exciting to see, where we achieved, being able to land something on Mars with this complexity, with this level of detail, being able to, get as much information out of it as, never done before with other rovers. And one of the main things that happened with the Curiosity Mars rover landing is this guy. So this guy is Dr. Charles Lashi. He's a Lebanese incredible person. And he was the previous director of NASA Jet Propulsion Lab. And I still remember watching him in mission control and, talking to Obama and, his face when the landing happened. It was just surreal to see someone from Lebanon that was able to lead something like that, who really also grew up in some, random town in Lebanon. And it was just really inspiring to see someone real that you could catch on to. Unfortunately, there weren't any Lebanese women involved in this project to find as role models, and that's something even other women that I found really inspiring. It was really hard to catch up on someone like a real role model, but Charles Lashi was an incredible person, and I still remember reading an article that he wrote. And he named it "How America Turned Me from a Lebanese Immigrant into a NASA rocket scientist." And he mentioned in the article, only the United States could do this. And that just hit me while applying, kind of gave me something real to latch onto before I really got to MIT and started my work. And flash forward a few years afterwards, this was during my very first internship at NASA. So that was the first time that after all the years that I was able to really, enjoy space and see it and, read about all of the new events happening and the new missions. It was the first time that I was really able to be involved. And I was fortunate enough to be able to work with Dr. Charles Lashi in this internship and an upcoming project afterwards. So to talk a bit about my previous work, my main research is on the Mars Oxygen ICRU experiment, also known as MOXIE. This is for the Mars 2020 rover that I'm going to be talking a bit about in more details in the upcoming slides. But I was also able to work at NASA JPL on other projects. I was really involved with the Cassini mission activity, especially on Saturn and Titan, doing a lot of the data analysis of Titan's surface and really trying to discover, its raised rim lakes using the radar and VIMS images that we got from Cassini. At the same time, I was working on the Saturn probe mission, and this is also another Saturn mission that I was really passionate about, and I worked on its attitude, determination, and control group. I was also working on the OneWeb satellite constellation. I don't know if people have heard of these satellite constellations, but it's a really common thing now with a bunch of different, actually, basically sending hundreds and thousands of satellites to space to create a global constellation to be able to connect different countries and achieve global connectivity via internet, via different other connective methods between different countries, between, on airplanes, sailing ships, and different remote areas around the world. So it was a very exciting, mission of the company. And at MIT itself, I was able to be involved in multiple projects relating to different satellites and different telescopes. And they all really built my, engineering expertise over different years. And one of the most important parts, also to echo Samah by what she said, is I'm really passionate about traveling all around the world. And one of the main things I was able to get through MIT is being able to organize programs all around. So I did organize multiple programs in the UK, Imperial College London, in India, in France, in South America, in Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, around Europe. And that really, traveling to each one of these countries, organizing a program there really changes you a lot, gives you a lot of expertise, a lot of leadership skills, and gives you a bit of a sense of the different approach to science and engineering that each different country has, and compared to Lebanon, compared to the US. So it really helps a lot, and learning a lot about different cultures, but at the same time being able to build your character in a different way. And one of the current things I'm involved in is a project with the International Space Station, the ISS. So earlier this year, my project got selected to be launched to the International Space Station in the fourth quarter of 2021. The main idea of this project is, as I mentioned, as you all know, being from Lebanon is really difficult to do anything related to space and aerospace and defense, because, being from the Middle East and the US is a bit challenging in this sense, especially with the current situation in Lebanon. So it's been always for me a problem when it comes to really finding something I enjoy and I'm capable to do, and seeing, the misrepresentation and the underrepresentation of a lot of countries, a lot of, lack of diversity in the aerospace field. And for me, I've always thought of space as a space for everyone, as an opportunity that everyone should be able to access. And this unequal representation was really something that I wanted to address in this project. So the idea behind it is really inspired by the Golden Record, which was launched on the Voyager missions, and I was able to collect, messages and photos and music from humanity from all around the globe, and really send it to space. But this time, instead of sending it to aliens, we're really sending it to ourselves through space, for all the world to know that we're united and listen to this message from the International Space Station. So that's one of the projects I'm currently working on. At the same time, I'm very passionate about politics and about, space law and policy. Growing up in Lebanon, you're kind of forced to enjoy politics, even if you don't enjoy it. So I've always had this tendency to really enjoy politics, and the application of that in the space field is incredibly, important, especially at the moment with the relationships between the US, China, Russia, all of the new missions to the moon, to Mars. I'm very interested in peaceful use of outer space. And right now I'm leading the policy, I'm the policy lead and the congressional legislation lead and the Space Generation Advisory Council on US space legislation. Basically, we're advocating with Congress. We're talking to a lot of congressmen and women about space issues, and really advocating for pushing certain policy priorities that we care about relating to peaceful use of outer space. I'm also leading the space weaponization, space ethics and human rights, and space resources subgroups of this organization. And the really goal behind it, again, is peaceful use of outer space and space disarmament, avoiding any weaponization in space, avoiding space war, and be able to use outer space in order to promote human rights and in order to promote space ethics in a sense. So this is kind of my general involvement at the moment. I've also been part of a lot of groups at MIT. These are some of our groups. You can see here the Lebanese Club at MIT on the top left. The top right is the Global Startup Workshop. I'm very interested in startups and entrepreneurship as well. So I've been able to organize a bunch of programs related to that in different countries. And what you see a photo at the bottom, this is the Graduate Women in Aerospace Engineering. there aren't a lot of us, but we quite try to gather ourselves up and kind of network with all other women from different universities and be able to, create a network of opportunities and mentorship for the future, whether it's in industry or academia or any path that, we decide to take. And it's always great to have, role models who are women in a sense now, who you can catch on to and you can get advice from about anything you do later in life. So that's kind of generally my experience. And I want to talk a bit about how I kind of started my work at MIT and how was that like as a woman, and talking a bit about my project and about the challenges that this involves in the US. So I'm going to talk about my first ever Astra class at MIT. So I still remember going inside with the class. I really didn't know exactly what to expect. I just thought everything was cool around me. It's really exciting. So I saw the professor show us this photo and on the screen. And it was just very interesting for me to see, oh, like it's an astronaut, it's a really cool shot. But for me, I'm like, oh yeah, I really want to be an astronaut. This is really cool. But I didn't think it more. Then he started talking, and the first thing he said, he was like, so when I was in space there fixing the Hubble telescope, and for a moment it just hit me, and he continued talking, and I'm like, that was you in the photo? How you were the one fixing the Hubble telescope? Like, how are you talking about it this casually? And it just it hit me at that moment that, I'm surrounded by some incredible people around, that the first professor I've met is freaking NASA Hubble telescope astronaut in the shuttle. And it just really, hit me at that moment. And that professor is this guy. His name is Professor Jack Hoffman, and he's currently my PhD advisor. I've been working with him for the last, 7 years at MIT. And it's been an incredible experience. He's a genuinely awesome person. And he is currently leading also the work on the Mars 2020 payload that I'm going to be talking about. So it just at that moment, I realized the opportunities you can get as, I love Lebanon a lot, but at some point, the opportunities you can get in places outside of Lebanon was incredible as a very first experience that, I was exposed to. I'm going to be transitioning a bit now and talking about the Mars mission and talking about how are we preparing for future human exploration of Mars. So what I'm showing here is kind of an overview of the Mars exploration over the years. And one thing that I'd like to really know, to put things in perspective, is that for students that are under 17 years old, there has been a rover operating on the surface of Mars for your entire lifetime. Every single day, there has been an engineer, JPL, really driving a rover on the surface of Mars. And it's incredible to think of, how far we've gone in this, technologies to be able to have all these rovers and all these missions, whether it's orbiters or rovers or landers that we have on the surface of Mars. And as most of you have known, UAE was yesterday was able to send, they didn't send it yesterday, but yesterday the HOPE mission orbiter was able to enter into Mars's orbit. So HOPE mission is not a lander, it's not a rover, it's not going to be on the surface of Mars, it's going to be orbiting Mars. Still, it's an incredible achievement and really shows the dedication that, different countries can do for Martian space exploration. Some of the past Mars rovers that were really important were, this is the Sojourner, which was in 1997. Sojourner died after 3 months, but it had front and rear cameras and was able to give us some information about Mars. Spirit and Opportunity, they're twin rovers. They landed on Mars in 2004. And they really gave us some amazing discoveries. So they searched for signs of water. Spirit discovered also dust devils at the Gusev crater. So they were really important for any scientist and engineer interested in space. And then obviously we had the Curiosity rover landing in 2012. It landed in the Gale crater. Curiosity, why I said I was really excited about in the past, it was a huge step forward from the rovers we had before. Curiosity was the first one to be nuclearly powered, RGGs, and then it discovered so much about the geology of Mars. It discovered evidence of past water on Mars. It drilled, analyzed samples. It really was a huge difference and change from all the other missions that was sent in the past. And fast forward to our current mission that will be landing next week on Mars. It's the Mars 2020 rover. So the Mars 2020 rover really builds on a lot of the past technologies from Curiosity, but changes quite a bit. And some of its main mission objectives is seeking signs of past life on Mars and really trying to understand, do we have life on Mars at any point in any shape or form? Did it exist in the past? And this is really important for us and our knowledge of life outside of Earth and the universe. The other big thing is being able to set aside a cache of samples. And that's really important because previously we were able not to have the best caching, sample caching kind of mechanisms. And the Mars 2020 rover named Perseverance, we have been able to create a whole new caching mechanism that's a lot more elaborate, that's able to gather a lot of samples. And in a Mars sample return mission coming after in the future, we can collect these samples and get them back to Earth to really have a better understanding of the Mars, of Mars's, components, of everything about the surface of Mars. And the most important thing, which is the third point, is really preparing for future human exploration of Mars. All of these missions are helping us understand everything around us on Mars, understanding us, how can we send humans to Mars and have them survive there and have them be able to come back to Earth safely. So these are really important mission objectives for our rover. This is just a general view of the rover that I'm going to be talking a bit about. As you can see, it has multiple science instruments. The one that you see here in the belly on the front is MOXIE, which is the project I'm going to be talking about. But I'm going to be giving you guys a brief overview of generally this rover and its instruments. So as I mentioned, there are 7 science instruments on board. Mass count that you can see in the first one here is an advanced camera system. Basically, it does panoramas, stereoscopic images. It can zoom in, it can determine mineralogy on Mars. And these are really incredibly important things for our understanding of Mars. SuperCam that you see over here is a really cool payload. It does chemical analysis and mineralogy, but it basically can detect organics from a distance. So what it does, it really shoots a laser, it clears away the dust from about really up to 20 feet, cleans the view, and really vaporizes the rock, measures the light from the resulting rock plasma, and understands its chemical analysis and mineralogy. So it's a really cool, more like a sci-fi kind of payload on board. We have RIMFAX, which is ground penetrating radar, SHERLOC, it's a UV laser for organics detection, and PIXEL, it's an X-ray spectrometer. It has really high resolution, then will give us a lot of insights on Mars. And finally, a MOXIE, which you see over here. And MOXIE has a different agenda from the rest of the instruments, and its whole goal is to create oxygen from Mars's atmosphere on the surface of Mars. And I will talk about this in a bit more details. For those who are interested in Martian missions, I want to give you just some details. So in order to fly to Mars, you can't do that at any time you want. It only happens every 2 years when there's a specific alignment between Earth and Mars. And the idea is to do some sort of transfer. It's called Hohmann transfer. You start from Earth's orbit and you launch a specific time that allows you, by the time you go and reach the Mars orbit, it will be about 8 months from that point, and it would be the exact time you reach the orbit and be able to land on the surface of Mars. It's a very intricate and detailed, orbital mechanics included process. But yes, it only happens every couple of years, and it's a very, it's very limiting for Martian missions in terms of how you plan it, because if you miss your launch opportunity, you have to wait for 2 years before you can launch it again. On Mars right now, where are we exactly headed? We're headed to what is called the Jezero crater. So among years of different geologists and different scientists arguing and fighting with the engineers about where they want to land, because geologists have a lot of care about interesting geological sites that they could learn a lot of information from, while engineers be like, this is extremely hard to land on, so we can't go there. And debates for multiple years until Jezero crater was picked. So Jezero crater that you can see here in the photo, it has inlet valleys and it has a delta deposit. And this is very important because when you have a delta, it means this shows a sign that there was water that was flowing here in the past. And this is important because if there was water in the past, these deltas are the best place in order to deposit minerals and be able to have formation of things, of sediments that you can study and really understand the past life on the surface of Mars. So this is why this place was picked. And I'm going to give you just a couple of quick slides about MOXIE and about our project for you guys to know more about what we're doing. So as I mentioned, here in the belly of the rover, you can see the NASA Mars Oxygen R3 experiment, also known as MOXIE. And its main goal, as I said, is to produce oxygen on the surface of Mars. But why is that important? So, as you all know, sending anything to space is very expensive. In order to send literally 1 kilogram of anything to low Earth orbit, you pay about $3,000. So if you want to get astronauts up from the surface of Mars, if you send them and you want to get them back to Earth, you use something which is called a Mars Ascent Vehicle, MAV, that you can see in the photo over here. And an MAV, say its launch mass is about 40,000 kilograms, about 22,700 kilograms of this mass is purely liquid oxygen in order to propel it. And I'm not going to go into rocket science details here, but it's really, really heavy when you're talking about this amount of liquid oxygen to be launched. And if you want to carry all this amount of oxygen with you from Earth, we're talking about $1.02 billion, more than $1 billion to just send this Mars Ascent Vehicle up from the surface of Mars to send these astronauts back to Earth. So it makes more sense in order to find a different way to produce this oxygen than carrying it with us from Earth. So what we use is something called in situ resource utilization, ISRU. And the idea behind it is what is known as living off land. Basically, imagine yourself going backpacking, and instead of carrying things with you all the way from before you leave, you can go fishing and fending on your way. And that way you can stay for a lot longer without having to carry everything with you. And we do have a lot of materials on Mars. We do have the atmosphere, the ice, and the regolith. And we are trying to make use of the CO2 in the atmosphere in order to make the propellant. So again, this is MOXIE. It will produce this oxygen. Right now, it's a demonstration. It needs to be scaled up for a human mission. And it will use solid oxide electrolysis to produce this oxygen as a propellant and for astronauts to breathe. And these are just a few photos that I love about our mission. This is our research, my Research Here project being installed into the Mars 2020 rover. And this is the entire Mars 2020 Perseverance rover that was encapsulated inside of the launch vehicle. That was on June 18th, 2020. And this is a photo of the launch that happened in July. It was extremely exciting. We were all really, looking forward to that day. And the big day that's going to happen is, I took this photo yesterday, so it's a bit off in terms of the number of hours, but it's landing, which will happen exactly a week from now, next Thursday on February 18th. So we're about 7 days away from landing. We're all extremely holding our breaths and really excited to see our rover land on the surface of Mars. And in terms of timeline, after we land, we're going to do an aliveness check, make sure we survive landing. We're going to do a health check, make sure everything is okay within our payloads. And we're going to do our first oxygen production. And this will be the first time we ever do such an ISRU oxygen production on the surface of any other planet. So it's extremely exciting. Will happen the first month, and the helicopter Ingenuity on top of the Mars 2020 rover will fly the second month. We are planned on operations for about 10 runs in the first year of operations, and definitely will be operating more than that afterwards. So right now what we're doing and what I'm involved in at the moment is the Mars operations as an uplink and downlink, sending things to Mars and receiving things back from Mars. So I'm leading this downlink part. So it's really exciting to be, the first person to be able to look at the data we get from Mars, analyze it, and really report on it and understand what we get. So I'm really excited for that. We're going to be all operating on Mars schedule, so we'll be all nocturnal in a sense, working all night, sleeping during the day if possible. But it's extremely exciting starting from next week. And this is On to Mars. This is mostly what I wanted to talk about. Just as a final note, I wanted to, for this one slide, talk a bit about the challenges and advice for people who want to be involved in STEM, especially for women.
Yes, Maya. This is really great. Thank you so much. Would you like to conclude with just one last minute, because we will need to wrap up in 3 minutes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is the last slide that I'm going to talk about.
Yes.
So in terms of challenges and advice for women in STEM, partly when I'm talking about, I'm in the US and I've worked in a lot of what are considered as advanced countries around Europe. And still in these countries, when we talk about the area of STEM, my project, I've been the only woman working on it for the last, 7 years. When you are a woman on a call of about, 50 old white men, it's really important to be able to be confident in our engineering skills, in our STEM field, and our ability to stand up and assert our voices and be able to make our points and stand up between different experts in the field. So one of the just important challenges that I faced all around in different countries is the lack of representation in aerospace engineering for any woman whatsoever. In the US, in my research in different buildings, there are many buildings that don't even have a women's bathroom in them. You don't have, and we're talking about places like the US or the UK. So it's important to really remember that these challenges for women are not just happening in the Middle East and Lebanon, it's happening all around, even in the advanced countries. And it's just important to be able to be passionate about your field and be able to assert your knowledge in it. But yeah, that's mostly what I've had in the slides. And thank you again for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maya. With all these instrumentations, projects, and the discussions, well, we do hope with Misbar al-Amal that was launched, that was actually entered the orbit, as you said.
Okay, I think we lost Sarah because of the electricity cut. It's 6 o'clock in Lebanon, so those things happens, Maya. So maybe you forgot about it.
No worries at all. I was trying to unmute myself.
Anyways, it was really exciting. Thank you for your talk. Thank you for all the things that you've been sharing with us. Anna, as a new school director for Shuf National College, I've heard a lot about you. Mr. Mahdi and Ms. Hazar are with us also. So definitely they are proud to see their student in such places. Thank you very much. I don't know if the others are still with us because many of them may have some electricity cut. حدا بحب يضيف شيء, please? Any questions before we end the meeting? IT, are you with us?
Yes, we're there.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Nasr, Dr. Rihab, Maya, Samah. Thank you very much. We enjoyed it. Thank you, students, for joining the meeting. Thank you, Sarah, although she's not with us now, but definitely we'll send her the regards via WhatsApp. Thank you, teachers, and hopefully we'll be basically conducting other Zoom meetings with such inspiring stories. Thank you very much. يعطيكم ألف عافية جميعا.
Thank you.
بس بدي أقول لها هاي لمايا أنا.
يلا أكيد.
هاي مايا كيفك؟